An armed intruder at Mar-a-Lago, a fatal shooting. It's the latest in what feels like a constant string of security threats against Donald Trump. So today, we're going to break down exactly what happened, why it's part of a really disturbing pattern, and what it might signal about political security in America. Okay, let's get right to it. The headline is just stark. An armed man got past the secure perimeter at Mar-a-Lago and was shot and killed by law enforcement. And while this whole story is still unfolding, the details we have so far paint a very, very serious picture. So, what exactly went down at the Florida residence? Let's walk through the sequence of events, at least as the authorities have reported them so far. Okay, so the intruder has been identified as Austin T. Martin from Cameron, North Carolina. This all happened in the middle of the night, around 1:30 a.m. Eastern. And here's a really crucial detail. Donald Trump himself was not there. He was actually in Washington, D.C. at the time. Now, authorities say Martin was carrying two things that just immediately sent the threat level through the roof: a shotgun and a fuel can. I mean, for Secret Service agents, that combination signals a potential for both an armed attack and arson. That is a scenario they have to take with absolute seriousness. So how did this whole thing escalate so quickly to a fatal ending? Well, the official account from the Palm Beach County Sheriff gives us a pretty chilling, moment-by-moment breakdown of those final seconds. Okay, so this lays out the sequence from Sheriff Rick Bradshaw. First, agents spot Martin at the North Gate. They give a very clear command: drop the items. Martin reportedly puts down the fuel can, but then he allegedly raises the shotgun into a shooting position. And it was right at that moment, they say, that agents fired to, in their words, neutralize the threat. And here's the direct quote from Sheriff Bradshaw's press conference. This really hammers home the official story of those final critical seconds. It highlights just how simple the command was and the one specific action that authorities say triggered that lethal response. So what happens now? Well, the FBI is involved. They're assisting the investigation. And here's a key piece of evidence. All the officers were wearing body cameras, and they were all on during the incident. Authorities also made it clear that, thankfully, no law enforcement personnel were injured. So that really covers the what of the incident. But now let's shift our focus to the who. What do we actually know about the suspect at the center of all this? Austin T. Martin. You know, the information we have so far really just paints a fragmented picture. We know he was from North Carolina, and in a really sad twist, his own family had reported him missing early that same morning. His local sheriff's office said they had no prior history with him, no interactions at all. So now, a huge part of the investigation is figuring out where and how he even got that shotgun. And as of right now, his motive? Well, that's still a complete unknown. Now, to really get why this event is so significant, we kind of need to zoom out, because this wasn't just some isolated random incident. It actually fits into a deeply disturbing pattern of recent threats and attempts against Donald Trump. This timeline really puts the Mar-a-Lago incident into stark perspective. Remember, back in July of 2024, Trump was actually wounded in an assassination attempt at a rally. Then, just a few months later, another man, Ryan Routh, was caught with a rifle near his golf club and ended up with a life sentence. And now, we have this fatal encounter. I mean, that's 3 major public incidents in less than 2 years. So it's really no surprise that this incident was immediately sucked into the much larger, and let's be honest, much more heated national conversation about the rise of political violence in the U.S. Almost as soon as the news broke, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was on Fox Business, and he directly framed the incident as part of a political trend. He said that the political left is, and I'm quoting him here, normalizing this violence, and he declared that it's got to stop. And this concern is being placed within a much wider context of violence that's targeting figures all across the political map. I mean, reports have highlighted the fire at the Pennsylvania governor's mansion, the tragic killing of a Democratic lawmaker in Minnesota, and the shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. All of it suggesting a really worrying trend that is definitely not isolated to just one side. And that brings us to the final, and I think most critical question. As these kinds of security incidents involving political figures just keep happening, no matter their party or ideology, what does this constant pattern of violence actually mean for the future of public life and political conversation in the United States? It's a question with no easy answers at all.